And action. Welcome to episode 20 on the Action Podcast. And today we got an action-packed lineup, starting with the new film on Netflix with Jamie Foxx called Dayshift. The second movie we'll be reviewing is a thriller called Fall, which takes place basically on a high-rise tower. Third film is on Paramount Plus, which is Secret Headquarters, starring Owen Wilson. It's also produced by Bruckheimer, which I was not aware of. Fourth film that we'll be watching is Bodies, which is supposed to be called the most zillennial movie you'll ever watch. And it pretty much backs that up. And number five is Emilythecriminal, which stars Aubrey Plaza, which is also got released on Friday. So with that, Pete, we'll start with Dayshift. What were your thoughts on Dayshift?
Dayshift. I loved this movie. I enjoyed every second of it from start to finish. I thought it was very clever. That was a great way to tell a vampire story. I thought Jamie Foxx was hilarious. The other guy, his sidekick, who was in the Now You Can See Me, or those magician.
Dave Franco, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was funny. His role, he played that role perfectly. And Snoop Dogg was I mean, he was so cool, and I love that he was like almost like a cowboy.
Yeah.
It was just really well done. And the director, J.J. Perry, who this was his first directing film, which when I found that out, I was just blown away even more over the fact that if this is what he does just coming out of the gate, then I think we're in for some really great movies coming forward from this director. I mean, I know that if you've seen an action movie in the past 100 years, he's probably either been the stuntman or the coordinator for those films. But
John Wick, Fate of the Furious, Divergent, Machete Kills, Olympus Has Fallen, Total Recall, Safe. So I mean, that's just to name a few, and there's a lot more. But yeah, he's an action guy.
So again, if this is his first one, then I think we're in for a real treat in the future. So if you're at home and you need something to watch, put on your Netflix, put on this movie. It's funny, it's adventurous, it's suspenseful, it's action packed, it's really well done. I give it like at least a 90%.
Yeah. I think, like you're saying, it's a fun movie. Especially some of these movies, it's just, it can be sometimes just a little exhausting, or, just takes a lot of brain power to kind of sit through it. And this one's just one of those, like you're saying, you can just relax and enjoy it. And you don't really need to, you can just literally just enjoy it for what it is. And, I definitely, there's a few times in this movie where I'm making actual verbal outbursts, because it was just a lot of, like I said, a lot of action. I mean, they really just, for lack of a better word, fuck people up in this. And that's fun. Sometimes it's fun, especially in vampire movies. You always like to see people.
And then all the contortion that they do at the very beginning with that one fight sequence was just like, wow. I mean, that was really incredibly done. Super clever. What a clever film. I mean, it's really hit or miss sometimes with a lot of streaming movies, because I think streaming movies in the past have had sort of a bad rap, like, oh, they just throw them on a streaming platform. But I agree with what you were saying in our last episode, how, it's really strategic in how people approach putting their films on streaming platforms, and this movie is not something to be overlooked at all. I didn't know anything about it when I saw it, and I was like, except vampires. That's all I knew.
Yeah, I mean, this is a theater film that Netflix basically purchased, right? So this is not a movie that they weren't necessarily thinking it could be successful in the box office. It was more of just, Netflix wanting a film like this on their docket, and this part of their aggressive acquisition phase that they got this one. And just super enjoyable ride. And loved it. Like my comp for this film, to me, it definitely had the vibes of Blade. And someone else was also saying about Zombieland. I haven't seen it, but I could definitely see how that could be in play.
I could see, I've seen both of the Zombielands, and I love those movies because they're a very hilarious, clever way of approaching a certain genre that has been done a million times before. And, it's difficult when you're approaching a subject like this that's been done. But yeah, that's a good comp, Zombieland, because
Yeah.
they're both very funny. They're both action packed, and the acting is superb.
Yeah.
Great director.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. So again, check that out, Netflix. I would say, well, yeah. I don't want to give away anything. I would almost spoil alert everything. So I'll hold what I was going to. I'll hold what I was going to say till the very end. But yeah. So let's move on to our next film, and the next film, I didn't do a bunch of research on it, and it's fall, and I knew maybe it's one of these kind of, again, a thriller or whatnot, but I didn't really know much going into it. I just really just kind of sat and watched the film, and I'll tell you what, man, I have not been this uncomfortable in a film for the entire time. I mean, the cinematography I thought was really well. I mean, there's sometimes a film like this, it just looks like it's shot on a stage, but I mean, I don't know exactly how they shot this, but I thought it looked really good in terms of believability and the camera work. Who knows how actually tall this tower was that they shot on. It looks like it's shot outdoors, does not look like it's shot indoors at all. But yeah, it's just, I don't want to give it away because it's a pretty simple film, but I think at the same time, for this genre, I thought it was really well written, and it's thriller / kind of survival movie, and so it's got a really nice combination of the two. And like I said, even though it's super uncomfortable, like the fact that it makes you uncomfortable, to me, makes it really well done. And this is not my type of film, especially with my vertigo, but I almost contemplated leaving at some point just because it was really, really uncomfortable. But I stuck it through. I'm a tough man, and it was worth it though. It was, like I said, super entertaining.
Do it for the show. You got to do it for the show.
So I definitely recommend this one if you can stomach it. I don't think it'll be for everybody because of the subject matter and heights and all that stuff. And I think some people just really, really struggle with it. But if you can stomach it, I think it's really good for this genre. So, and then our next film is Secret Headquarters, which is on Paramount Plus, and like I mentioned before, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. So, for me, I definitely had some high expectations going into this because he's probably one of my favorite producers, and starring Owen Wilson. Pete, what did you think about this film?
Well, yeah, I remember when it was first announced that Owen Wilson was going to be doing a superhero movie, and I asked you if you were excited or not excited, and I think you responded by saying, you just have to hear more about it. The premise, okay, cool. Owen Wilson. I mean, even Paul Rudd is a superhero at this point. I mean, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. I thought that this film was good. It was different than what I anticipated it to be. Owen Wilson wasn't in it as much as I thought he was going to be. No. This is really about this group of kids, and and it really does set up a certain sequel in the future, I would imagine, if the response is really well. I mean, it's really well done, set up from start to finish about setting up a sequel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Owen Wilson is classic Owen Wilson. He's very funny. He's witty. He plays the dad that's never there, always has excuses about work and all this stuff, and the kid's disappointed because the dad's never around. The ex-wife is trying to
let me interrupt too on that point, because I'll be honest, like right away I kind of got a little turned off by it because of that initial, like, I hate the messaging of, oh yeah, dad's, this nice house we live in, but dad's got to work, so I don't know, for me it's just kind of a tired storyline of, especially when they're working. It's one thing when the dad's a deadbeat dad, but to villainize a dad that is working, and paying the bills well, you know what I mean? To me, it's just I don't know. I did not like that messaging because it's just it's absurd. Like, what are you teaching your kid? Like, you shouldn't work? Like, I don't understand it. Anyways.
There you go. But yeah, I thought the kids were great. Well, some of the kids were great. Some of them are a little goofy, but whatever. They're kids.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna knock a kid actor. But the son, I forget what else he was in. He crushed in that movie. Well, in this one as well. I think he's the real star of this movie, and Owen Wilson is a secondary character, even though he's top bill. It's a good
He was
family
in that
film.
Adam Project as well.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Which he did really well in.
I agree with most of what you're saying. I think for me, I think I probably wanted it a little bit more adult. I didn't realize maybe it was so family oriented because, right when I saw Jerry Bruckheimer, his logo pop up, I actually got excited and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. This could be another level because, he's Crimson Tide. He's Enemy of the State. He's, Pirates of the Caribbean. He's, all these films.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I've just maybe put it a little bit too much on a pedestal initially, thinking it was a more kind of adulty type of a film. But it's not. Now, I agree with what you're saying. I think for a family film, I think it works. I think it's fine. I think maybe I just I wish I would have knew it was a family film going in, because I think I kind of put my expectations in the wrong kind of jar. But,
right.
With that being said, like I said, I think, families will be entertained. Kids will probably really like it. I would say like it's definitely a little Adam Project-ish as well, which is not a bad comp for it. Spy Kids was the other one I thought of. To me, that's probably a more equal comp because that's such a child and family based film. But
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's also on Paramount Plus. It's streaming. So for a family, I would say definitely check it out. You don't have anything to lose, in my opinion. And I think worst case, your kids are really going to like it.
It's not overly violent. There's nothing inappropriate in it.
No, Michael Payne is funny too.
Might be. Oh, he's always funny. I love that guy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of. Might be a couple of curse words, but nothing.
Yeah, I don't remember any.
I don't recall curse words, but as soon as I say there's none, then
yeah, exactly.
Somebody's going to say, "Oh, well, they said the S word."
Yeah.
So, there might be a couple of cuss words, but not like your kids have never heard these words before. Give me a break.
Right, exactly. Okay, and so next film is Bodies, 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 and
yes,
Pete Davidson's in this one. I didn't recognize any of the other actresses in this one or actors, but I'll tell you what, I thought it was initially kind of rough going through it. I think this is a certain age group that will appreciate this film. I think definitely the horror film genre people might like this take on a film. I will say it's unique. It's definitely a different type of film. It wasn't what I kind of thought it was going to be. I kind of thought maybe it was going to go in one direction, and it never went where my mind went with it. But it's, one of the critiques I saw on it was it's the most zillennial movie you've ever seen. And, I definitely think, it is a social commentary film as well. So it's like a horror film with kind of a social commentary. And so I think there are parts for me, even as a filmmaker, I'm like, okay, that's a pretty clever way. That's unique, but
right.
This is not my favorite film by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, there's a lot of it that's just like, I get what you're trying to do, but it's just not my type of film. So I don't think I'm the audience on this one, but I think younger adults might get a kick out of this more, might relate to it more. And so, this
movie was sort of advertised. The previews would very much set it up to be like a new version of Scream. Did you get that impression? Or was it not even close?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like the whodunit murder kind of thing.
It is a whodunit type of a murder, but it's Scream was revolutionary when it came out for what it did. I'd say on that level, this is pretty like cutting edge in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It, like I said, I think if you can kind of stomach it, if you like the genre, I think again, this film's not for everybody. I think a lot of people would be like, I couldn't handle it. I don't think this is a hyper, the 35 plus year old male might struggle with this film a little bit, but it's not overly funny. It's not, I think the funny jokes are more the satire jokes of the fact that it's it's kind of poking fun of the zillennials essentially, right? And so that part is kind of funny. And again, it's clever. I think ultimately it is well written, and so it works there. So if you're into the genre, if you're into that type of millennial film, I'd say check it out.
Great.
Or wait for streaming. And then the last film I'm still processing it. Maybe I need to see it again, but it's Emily the Criminal. And first and foremost, I thought Aubrey Plaza did an excellent job in it. Her acting was really good in it. Definitely a different type of role than you may know her from. I mean, I know she's done other projects that are kind of different than her regular traditional kind of comedic actress that she's done before. But it's an interesting film. Maybe wanted a little bit more from it, but I think it's maybe a 70, maybe 60s. Like I said, I didn't feel great when I left the movie, but I didn't feel like I hated it, so
Right.
It's kind of a tough watch. I mean, so this is
why was it very difficult to follow?
No, not really. It's just the story, I think, is, it's just not the most, I guess, satisfying story. And it wasn't maybe like as gripping as it could be. I think
I'm not compelling.
Yeah, not compelling enough. It's more, I just don't think it pushes the boundaries in any one direction. So, neither needs to be funnier or it needs to be more brutal or more, I think it's just kind of that keep pushing it in one direction or the other. It's kind of, I think it's kind of stuck in no man's land. So you leave it just maybe less with emotions from it. You know what I mean? And so if I had to rank all the movies that I saw, those 5 movies, I think Day Shift was I think the one I liked the most in terms of like, I'll watch it again and it's great. But with that being said, I think Fall was maybe the best like ride that was on all week. And again, it was so uncomfortable. So it's hard for me to say, hey, I'm going to watch Fall 17 times. But for that first time you go watch it, I think Fall maybe number one. Then after that, I think Day Shift. Day Shift's a movie I think you can watch over and over again. I think it has a good rewatchability level. Secret Headquarters, like I said, if you don't have kids, that's probably my number 3 film. Emily the Criminal is probably 4. Bodiesbodiesbodies is 5. Like I said, it's a hard watch for a lot of people, I think. So
sure.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I got, Pete.
Big week.
Yeah, big week. So for the viewers, I've been reading a little bit on box office projections and stuff like that. The next few weeks, the next real blockbuster that's like expected is maybe Wakanda Forever in November. And they said possibly before that, there's still some good films coming out. So don't get me wrong, but in terms of like the blockbuster hits of the summer, I think that's pretty much over for this year. But there are some good movies coming up. I know on Netflix.
There's also like The Samaritan, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
Invitation looks okay.
Yeah. Me Time is coming on Netflix. That's like Kevin Hart. And I know Andrew Santino's in that one. And then next week Beast comes out, which I'm actually looking forward to. Idris Elba. So that should be pretty good. There's also a Western called I think it's The Legend of Molly Johnson. I'm actually looking forward to that one. That one's coming out next week as well. So I'll be checking that one out. And then the following week, like you mentioned, August 26th, you said The Invitation. It's also The 3,000 Years of Longing, also with Idris Elba. That's a George Miller film. And so, he's a pretty visual guy. So yeah, we still got some movies that I'm definitely still looking forward to. And yeah,
there might be some sneaky good ones. You never know. I mean, that's why we want them all.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, we'll get a full list every week once we get them all. Some of these streaming services are harder to figure out what's upcoming versus like right when they pop. So, but yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe on we're on YouTube as well. Comment below what your favorite film, if you liked any of these films that we saw. And again, we're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, we're also on. So make sure you subscribe and like and help us on this journey. And we'll be other classic films that we're reviewing. We got E.T. coming up, Back to the Future, Princess Bride, just to name a few. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And with that, Pete, Dogg, and Cat. Thanks, guys.